A show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on JTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, the Wellness Center, Medical and Behavioral Health Clinics, Ticely Cross Deliciously Smooth Cider, HOV Medical and Digicel, simply more speed, reliability and entertainment. This is The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition. With me is no stranger to the set, Honorable Shereen Flax-Charles. You are the Junior Minister for Trade and Economic Development, Agriculture and Fisheries. I got that. It's a pleasure having you as always.
Thank you, Kathy. It's great to be here once again.
Well, more than ever, you've been in the news recently. The discussions back and forth, but the thing is, we may take this discussion in a different light, considering the fact that the talk right now and the most recent development is you deciding not to contest the general elections with the Virgin Islands Party. You have tendered your resignation from that party. The discussion has been ongoing, but the fact is, this is nothing new, especially in a season like this. People change party all the time. They move from one party to the other for reasons more than one, but it's a personal choice. For you, you say you look more for the betterment of the people, to do things in the interest where you can represent. And you've been a fireball in the House of Assembly, out of the House of Assembly, and even before you got into politics. So just for those who are now hearing of this and seeing this for the first, a little bit background to your decision as of recent.
Well, Kathy, what I would say to you is that over the past 4 years, I refer to it as I use the analogy of a marriage. And you go in, you have high hopes, you want to progress, you want to make sure you get things done, you want to work together with that partner, etc. And sometimes things go sour, sometimes things go south. You try your best to make it work, because in this particular instance, I'm not here, it's not about me, it's about the people. And so, you go down the road and you get 3-4 kids and so forth. And then you're in there and you're saying, well, my God, I have to stick it out for these kids for the sake of the children. And I'm sure you and a lot of persons who were in a marriage, whether male or female, understand that sometimes
it's better apart.
It is better apart. And the children are much better for that too. And so I made a decision to resign, and I think it is the best decision. I know it is the best decision for the people of the BVI. I am able to speak a lot freer. I am able to tell people how things work, because I think communication is a major challenge with governments, and we do not educate our population. And it's been something that I have been harping on for many moons, We need to put more PR out there. We need to let the people out there know what we're doing. We don't want our people to be caught by surprise. And so for me, I decided to part ways. And I'm still here for the people of the BVI. That was my goal from the beginning. And as you mentioned, I've been doing that for decades.
So why the decision at this time? Because from what we would have been seeing and hearing on the ground, that, you would have had this challenge, not being able to share as much as you need to, or to represent to the level that you need to for the people of the Virgin Islands. Why it is that you would have made the decision at this time?
Well, Kathy, what I will say to you is the time was right at this time, and that is why it was done at this time. I would say I really figured that there would be an opportunity to influence and make change, but we have a system in place and a structure in place that doesn't allow for that. And I know that you have been to some of those Constitutional Review Commission meetings, as I have been, and I've been very vocal about it. You have a 13-member House of Assembly. You have a 5-member cabinet. Do the math. 8 is more than 5. You have 5 members in the cabinet. 3 is the majority. So those other 2, if they decide to vote no, they cannot tell the public that, because the cabinet rules speak to collective responsibility. So in essence, you have 3 people making the decisions for the entire country. And it gets even worse, Cathy, because 13 take away 3 leaves you with 10. So the other 10 members in the House of Assembly, really and truly, sometimes you don't know what's going on until I watch the big story. So it's what needs to happen is that there needs to be a shift in the amount of persons that are in that cabinet. It's not anything to do with wanting power. It's about being more transparent. It's about something that's more fair for the people. Because you have 5 people. I can influence 2 people easily. It's going to be much harder for me to influence 4, 6, or 10, or 8. The more people you have, the harder it is to influence, and it keeps us in check. I can go down the street right now, and influence 2 people to do something with me. But if you need more than that to get to be on your team, to get this thing going, it's going to be more difficult.
So help me to understand how you're moving from one party to independent or to another party would allow this, because this definitely would mean a policy change. When we go to the polls, whenever it comes anytime soon, the fact is that there has to be a legislative move, or I think it's through the UK that has to come for us to have that change where we increase the number of members in the cabinet. So whether or not you would have moved from one party to another, when the next government takes up the helm of the territory, there is still that same number in cabinet. So where does the difference come?
What I would say is that I will align myself with persons who are like-minded, who realize that a territory of this size cannot be run by 3 people alone, that the decision shouldn't be made by 3 people alone. When you have a 13-member House of Assembly, it's going to take time, because the Constitutional Review, the deadline was just on the 31st of January, but we have to continue to push. We have to continue to walk towards that, because persons are now realizing, a lot of persons didn't even realize that a junior minister doesn't sit in the cabinet. So, or that the other backbenchers, well, all of us are backbenchers once you're not a member of cabinet. that we don't sit in the cabinet, a lot of people did not know. And so now, with social media and with everything else, it's coming out in the open where people are understanding what the cabinet consists of and who can sit in cabinet. Because to me, it wasn't something that a lot of persons realize. And now they're realizing it and are saying, yes, I agree with you, because we need to have more people having a say. And that is why we were put there by the people, not by the other members of the House of Assembly. While some of them would have voted for me in the last election, I didn't only get 12 votes. I would say 13 votes if I voted for myself. However, the people put us there, and the people need to have more of a say in what goes on. I have people calling me all the time. Is this true? I saw something on JTV. I saw something on one of the other news sites. Well, unfortunately, sometimes I see it there for the first time as well. And so we have to collectively make a conscious decision to be inclusive. I understand the politics and all of that, but you don't play politics with the people, and the people need to be informed. And yes, persons will say, oh, you've gone against your own government. Do we realize what government is, or what the definition of government is? The government is the people. I'll never go against the people. So when I get up in the House and I go against the grain and I vote no on something that everybody else voted yes for, it is because in here, in my heart, I believe that it was not the right thing for the people. And that's how I operate, plain and simple.
So within the structure, before something is put in cabinet, before a vote on something is put in cabinet, doesn't the structure facilitate where all 13 legislators at some point contribute towards it? Okay, so I think it's what's the meeting at?
Caucus.
Caucus.
Caucus is only made up of the sitting government members. There is an opportunity as well for what we call informal meetings of the House,
Yeah.
where all 13 members come and have discussions. To be honest, those have been few and far between. Not a lot. With the caucus, we've met many more times, but sometimes those things don't pop up. And so the
what really pops up in
communication is where the challenge is that if the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, you will always have challenges. From government to government, it is my understanding that the structure of caucus changes. My opinion is it needs to be something more formal than what I've known in my tenure with the Virgin Islands Party government and then with the Unity government. I believe it needs to be more structured. I believe that there should be minutes taken at those meetings.
Oh, no minutes are taken?
You heard what I just said. I believe that minutes should be taken at those meetings so that there's a record for us to be able to go back to, and this is what we said, this is what we didn't say, this is the decision that was made to move the agenda forward. Those are things that I look forward to with whichever party or a group of independents or whatever comes in as the government after May the 11th. I'm not sure the election is on the 11th though, but it has to be before the 12th of May.
Okay.
And so my biggest challenge, I would say, is that communication or the lack thereof internally and externally has been a major issue.
So going forward for you and for generally for the territory, where do you see see you positioning yourself to be able to be of a greater influence? I've heard you say you're not sure if you're going to be with another party or you're going to run independent. I mean, the time is winding down and
Yes,
decisions
it
have
is.
to be made and made really fast. You know, you can't wait
Well,
until the last
well,
minute.
decisions should not be taken lightly. Um, and I know that people are impatient and some are patiently waiting. A decision such as this has to be very strategic, and you have to ponder, you have to think about what you're going to do. And I've mentioned it before, I've been approached by every party and sundry, and so you have to take that decision. You have to speak with your family, because this cannot be just about me making a decision without including all of the factors. I do have a teenage son, still in high school, and I have a family. So those things must come into play. Some people say, oh, well, the family has to fend for themselves because this is what you signed up for. But that's not BVI culture. BVI culture speaks to keeping families together and making decisions as a family together. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to, you will be hearing something very soon, because as you said, things are winding down. And whatever I do and wherever I come out on the other end, I am going to be working for the people irregardless. And I'm not afraid to do anything as long as it's legal. I will, and as I've mentioned before, one Lobster Fest, Sharon and I, we put our gloves on and we cleaned the bathrooms because they needed to be done. Some persons were like, no, in your position, no, this is about our territory. This is about the destination we call the British Virgin Islands. And so if it means having to clean a bathroom for our visitors, I'm willing to, and for the locals, because this was in Anegada for Anegada Lobster Fest, I'm willing to put those gloves on and do it because it's going to benefit all of the people in the territory at some juncture.
So when we look at the reasoning of you having to put your family first, I can hear so many people say, okay, well, we have families too. We have our job that we stick up to. We are sometimes under heavy public scrutiny as well. My job as a public servant, and I run my family. So there is no necessarily a comparison to a legislator having to make reservations, special reservation, opposed to every other person for a family. How do you respond
Kathy,
to that?
What I would say to you and to the entire BVI public, it's about balance. It's about balance. When you put yourself up to serve the people, you have to make sure that you balance it. Because I know, I mean, my phone was ringing from 6 o'clock this morning, and I quickly jumped in and I said, give me a few. And that happens every single day. But I have to get ready, have to make sure the child is ready to get out of the house, so that in today's instance, I have to catch the ferry, I cannot be late. So it's not about necessarily putting any one particular thing first. There must be balance. But there will be times when circumstances arise where you have to make a decision of who's going to come first and who's going to come just right behind. And you have to prioritize. But in instances of illness and so forth, you know, family emergencies, you must do that. And every public servant out there, they work very hard. I've had the opportunity to work with many of them throughout my tenure. Very hard-working people. They really put their all into it. And so they too have to balance. There's no way that if somebody comes to me and says, well, I'm not going to be able to walk today because of XYZ. I have a child that even just there's graduation or there's some other event, that it is important that our parents are supported too. And we see what's happening in our society, and we're having our kids gunned down on the streets. We're at a stage where we need to get back to how it used to be. A village raises a child. Parents are more involved with their children. And I believe wholeheartedly that will make a difference. Now, last night we attended the chaplaincy ceremony for the chaplains here in the BVI now. And I felt that I do believe that will make a difference, and I wholeheartedly support that group of chaplains that will be throughout the territory, talking to persons, assisting persons who are troubled, who need us, just somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And as a parent, sometimes the children would say, oh, you're always telling me I can't do this, or I shouldn't do this, or this is what I should do, etc. But sometimes children too don't need to talk to someone on the outside.
Yes, yes.
And so I think that this program will lend a lot. And of course, you'll be hearing a lot more about that from Pastor Ricketts and the group in the very near future. But that, I think, is where we as BVI landers need to start to focus more on the family. And I believe that you will see a difference in what's happening out there in the streets. Yes, persons need jobs, and that is something that I am very adamant about as well. Persons need training, and we need to be able to put them in a position for that to happen as well.
Okay. I want to bring you back to our discussion about this upcoming general elections. It's strongly felt that there are two things that Honorable Flax-Charles is going to do. Either of two things. It doesn't look very much like she's going to run at large. It looks like she's going to run for District 9 representative position. Where are you?
I won't say, Cathy. When an announcement is
What
made...
are the pros and cons? All right, so yes...
When an announcement is made, I will say, like I've said to other reporters, if I run at large, I work for all the people. If I run for a district seat, I work for all the people of the BVI. It doesn't make a difference. Even before I was elected, persons from throughout the BVI always reached out to me to assist in some way. So what I'm doing here now is nothing new. And so the focus for me is on the people. And that is where I think I've gotten some experience as well, some additional experience, because when I worked at the tourist board, I was at one point the Sister Island manager at the tourist board. And so I was able to reach out and to meet people from every single island. I continue to do that, and I always will brag and say, I'm not one to brag and boast, but there's no elected representative within the last 4 years that have traveled the entire BVI and have reached out to people from Jos Van Dyke to Anegada on a regular basis. Okay. I try to hit those places, Anegada and Jos Van Dyke, especially.
We see you all the time.
Exactly.
We know that you're out there. But again, you're talking about your interest and your primary focus being that on the people. So let's now just in this few minutes that we have to wrap up, give a little picture in your mind, some of the things that you would consider or is considering as it relates to when you would make that decision where how you will run, whether at large or... Well, let me get this particular part in that I really want you to answer for me. What are some of the pros and cons you would weigh having to run for a district representative, considering the fact that for the 4 years that you would have been in government, you shared responsibility in that district along with a member of the party that you would have just resigned and who is now running again for district representative of District 9?
Well, what I would say, Kathy, I believe, and I've said it before, one hand cannot clap. I will use the story of the protest at the Bats as an example of why we need to look at the bigger picture. Some persons were upset, but I knew why I went up to the Bats when we found out that they were only going to allow the cruise passengers because of COVID to visit the Bats on that day. That was the beginning of what would have continued. And in my mind and in the mind of Sister Joyce, Pop Stevens, and Sharon Flax-Brutus, we knew that we could not allow something like that to happen. I don't know if persons really pay attention, but on any given day, you have many local boats from Tortola, charter boats, companies that do day trips. A lot of these are young people that have organized themselves, have their little boats, they carry up 4 to 6, 8 people, do a day trip. That's how they feed their families. And we saw that that was going to be taken away from them. What about the taxi drivers that would bring people from the yacht harbor, wherever, from the ferry dock to visit the Bats? That would have been their source of income, would have been taken away. Let's go a step further. On any given day, you have 50, 60 yachts moored at the Bats when the weather is calm. You have local captains, you have local crew, you have local chefs on board. So when we think about whether you're running in a district or whether you're running at large, every single member of that House of Assembly needs to think holistically about the BVI. Because when Tortola sneezes, Virgin catches a cold. When Virgin sneezes, Anegada catches a cold, and it goes all around. And so we cannot afford to look at it as one singular place. It has to be looked at as a whole. Because I was speaking with someone recently, and, you know, I don't have the statistics, but that person was saying to me, look at the numbers in terms of what revenues generated for electricity or for water and sewage from the sister islands alone. We couldn't do it without them, but the sister islands couldn't do it without Tortola either. So what needs to happen is that when we get in there, we have to prioritize, and we have to make sure that we're fair. And I will go out on a limb because I speak my mind. I've sat in meetings where members of the House of Assembly have referred to the BVI as Tortola alone. And it hurt my heart because we're supposed to be that, we're supposed to have that oneness. We're supposed to be walking together. And we cannot operate in a bubble. I can tell you right now, Virgin Gorda is suffering because of a lack of vision when it came with the Pier Park. When the Pier Park was being built, I reached out to persons in authority and said, you cannot build this place in a vacuum.
Yeah, I recall
because
that.
now you don't have the facilities throughout the territory, not just Virgin Gorda, because ships operate and you get people going once in a while to Anegada, but more so Jas Van Dyke and Vorjengorda. And so our facilities are lacking where that is concerned, because that vision to me was not there to say, well, you know, we're going to get, if you have a cruise ship that comes in with 5,000 passengers, how many of them are going to go to Jas Van Dyke? How many of them are going to go to Vorjengorda? Are our facilities up to par to handle those projections? And so those are the things that I am concerned about. Whether I run at large or in the district, it doesn't matter. What matters is that everything comes together as a whole, and the people and the needs of the people should be a priority.
Awesome. We have to cut it right
Yes.
there. I guess we would have gone over a few minutes. But thanks always for sharing candidly on your views. And, you know, all eyes are on you.
Well,
All
thank
eyes
you,
are
Kathy.
on
I told my husband last night you're one of the hardest working journalists in the BVI, if not the hardest, because I see you everywhere. I hope none of the other news sites get offended, but as a woman, I am very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
And you do a fantastic job. Thank
Committed to
you.
what I do, like you are committed.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Honorable Flax-Charles, and thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Big Story.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Everyone looks to the future, but no one truly knows what the future holds.
The number of people under the age of 20 with type 2 diabetes could increase by 49% by 2050. Let it be known that we all have a 30% chance of developing hypertension.
Globally, more than 300 million people of all ages suffer from depression.
More than 60,000 young adults aged 20 to 39 are diagnosed with cancer each year. Obesity leads to problems such as stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure.
No matter your race, age, or color, we are all at risk.
These diseases can be managed or prevented if caught early.
But with the right medicine and the right doctors to keep us on a path to live a robust and healthy life,
We will live well.
There are many ways to enjoy life, like so many ways to count on Popular.
Plug into Digicel Plus and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. The best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Plus to enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle. Sign up today. Digicel Plus.